Issues of climate vulnerabilities and the impact on debt and financial sustainability on small island developing states are some of the issues that are being explored here at the IMF World Bank annual spring meetings. I'm Andre Huey, coming to you from Washington, D.C., where I'm reporting on the IMF World Bank spring meetings. And just earlier today, actually, this morning, Wednesday, April 17th, ministers and representatives from the small island developing states of Commonwealth countries had a gathering on the sidelines of the IMF World Bank spring meetings, where they discussed the issue of climate vulnerabilities and the impact that these are having on small island developing states. And before I continue this report, I must let you know that this report, the IMF Daily Reports, are brought to you by Hope Economics. So in this meeting, it was actually chaired by a Caribbean representative, Mr. Camilo Gonzalez, the Finance Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. He chaired that meeting. We weren't allowed to be in the meeting as media. We stayed for the opening remarks, and then afterwards I had an in-depth interview with him, which I will share with you in its totality on our Facebook page, on the SK Newsline Facebook page later on. But I will share some of the highlights of that interview. Now, two of the things that Mr. Gonzalez discussed, that he mentioned in his opening remarks, and I asked him questions about that to elaborate more on them in the interview. One has to do with the fact that at this meeting, at the IMF meetings, small island developing states are trying to get the point across to multilateral groups that first and foremost, they should understand the conditions and the situations that lead to countries, small island developing states, being highly indebted. Now, a lot of times he says that the focus is put on other aspects that could affect high debt, such as corruption and other areas. And sometimes the perception is given that poor management is leading to this. But he's making the point that a lot of the high debt has a lot to do with the climate vulnerabilities that small island developing states experience.
What is less discussed very often is why we have the debt that we have. When you hear that somebody has a lot of debt or a country has a lot of debt, sometimes there is an implicit assumption or suggestion that it is profligacy, it is corruption, it is bad developmental practice that caused this debt. And in the case of the Caribbean countries, which are by and large well-governed, which are by and large well-managed, which are by and large lack sort of large white elephants or bad ideas in development. The challenges are related to the crises and the external crises that we face. A lot of the money is spent recovering from disasters or preparing for disasters. So a great deal of our debt is to either rebuild after hurricanes and storms or to prepare for the next hurricane or storm. That's a significant part of the debt. That's due to climate change. That's not due to anything internal that we've done.
Another issue that Mr. Gonzalez raised is what he describes as a dividing amongst poorer countries around the world where funding is concerned, and he gave an elucidation into that.
There is a move afoot within the World Bank, certainly, and something that we have to monitor and something that we have to advocate against, related to IDA financing in the World Bank. IDA financing IDA stands for the International Development Association, and it is the most affordable money that developing countries can borrow at the World Bank level. And that money pays for a lot of critical developmental initiatives related to education, related to health, related to climate resilience. We've typically been able to borrow that money at very low interest rates and repay it over a very long period of time. And so it's very, very critical to all of our developmental aspirations. Years ago, they began to divide the countries in terms of who is richer and who is poorer. And the poorer countries got more money and the richer countries got less, neglecting the issue of vulnerability. Now there is a second move afoot that's being proposed to shorten the time within which you have to repay the money and increase the interest on that money. And the logic that they're providing is, well, you know, it's limited money and we have to give the money to the poorer countries because you guys aren't as poor as other countries. That argument ignores vulnerability, which is something we've been stressing for the longest time. Vulnerability is important. One storm can set countries back decades.
So some segments there of the interview I had with Mr. Camilo Gonzalez, the Finance Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, who chaired a meeting of small island developing states of the Commonwealth. We'll provide you more details on the interview I had with Mr. Gonzalez, as there were several issues that we touched on, and we'll be sharing them in the coming days. Coming to you from the IMF headquarters in Washington, D.C. for SKN Newsline, I'm Andre Huey. Hope Economics is an economic and development consulting firm specializing in economic policy, advising, business and trade advisory, research and project management. We work with governments, private sector agencies, multinational institutions, and non-profit organizations across the Caribbean region. Led by principal consultant Kevin Hope, Hope Economics applies rigorous analytic skills and local knowledge to address key challenges facing Caribbean economies. They work closely with governments and partners to design evidence-based solutions and support sustainable development across the region. For more information or to book services, email admin@hopeeconomics.com or contact WhatsApp 268-721-0936 or 203-257-8785. Hope Economics. Your dreams are our mission.